Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the VoV podcast, Voices of Vic. Today I am here with Kanishk Niverthi. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much, Carter. So I was born in Bangalore, India, around 2001. My favorite city. I love it there. A year old, I moved to Chennai. So that's more on the south of India. Then 2 years later, moved up to Mumbai. Then around 2007, Sydney, Australia. And then finally we reached Singapore.
Okay.
And then settled for 10 years and now here. Yeah,
awesome.
Been here for 4 years. People in Singapore are far less like pro-social. They're a bit more anti-social, I think, when you compare it to in Canada. I find it like if it's a spectrum, Canada's on one side of it, Singapore's on the other side.
What's worse, committing the immoral act or promoting the immoral act but not actually doing it?
A lot of the professors, they have a textbook, slap it onto the slides, read that, go home.
I don't want to believe that, but I think you're right.
Yes.
Do you think that because that's what UofT is kind of known for, right? Is like research. They're trying to get more students into research because that's like their golden egg. Do you think that helps the undergrad students more than it hurts them? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the VoV podcast, Voices of Vic. Today I am here with fourth year economics and stats student. He's graduating, Kanishk Niverthi. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much, Carter.
Thank you once again. You're friends with Dikshant?
Yep. So we actually went to the same physics tuition together in Singapore when we were both in high school.
Yeah.
So I'm like acquainted with him from there quite a bit.
There you go. Dikshant is a G.
G. Yeah, good guy.
Absolutely, yeah. I like making connections from past episodes to kind of, if people, stay up to date with the podcast, sometimes like, where did this guy come from? Where did this guy come from? And, we make connections to former guests. But you went to high school, Dikshant, in Singapore, but you're born in India.
So yes, I'm born in India.
So tell me about how did you make that move? Because Singapore is kind of like everything. Like the race of Singapore is not really a thing.
Yeah,
they're kind of from everywhere South Asia.
Singapore is a melting pot. But first to touch upon your question about my journey. So I was born in Bangalore, India, around 2001. My favorite city. I love it there. A year old, I moved to Chennai. So that's more on the south of India.
Yep.
Then 2 years later, moved up to Mumbai. So that's around 2005, 2006. Then around 2007, Sydney, Australia.
Yep.
Spent 4 great years there. I have a lot of love for Sydney.
Yep.
Then we moved back to Bangalore to be closer to family for a year. That we're not done yet. And then finally we reached Singapore.
Okay.
And then settled for 10 years and now here. Yeah,
awesome.
Been here for 4 years.
And so was your first year at UofT, that must have been the COVID year then?
Yes, that was the COVID year. So I spent my first semester in Singapore, all online.
Yeah. That's a tough way. That's a tough way to start university.
Man, tell me about it.
You've come a long way.
Yeah.
Obviously, now to this point, you're finishing up.
Absolutely. Like, first day of uni me and like current me, it's like very different. Like how I pictured it to be. And now I'm like here, I can actually make the full, reflection on how things have gone by.
Yeah. What are some things that you came in? Like I can think of some, but it's more satisfying to hear it, the full story, because I still got a year left. Maybe I'll learn some new things in fourth year, right? You've gone through the whole thing, starting from the most chaotic beginning to university, which was like online, COVID, you weren't even here. I'm sure the time zone too might have messed you up. But yeah, tell me, like, what are some things that you expected to have maybe with UofT, but just maybe also university in general, that you learned maybe were true or not true after you've obviously completed the story?
So I know UofT was going to be a challenge academically. There was going to be a lot of days where I had to, just study the whole day, just have those exams on my mind, just have the grades on my mind. But like, I kind of knew that was coming, so I didn't really shy away from it. I feel like if you kind of choose that struggle and you look at it that way, like, I chose this, then it doesn't affect you as much.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how I went about it. But like, I think overall, very positive experience, I have to say.
That's good. So tell me more also about the shift from the Singaporean culture, Indian culture to the Canadian culture, because I'm good friends here. The reason I had that, you saw that on the list there, we had some weird topics that you didn't necessarily bring up, but my friend Krishna lives here, and he was talking about like how there's so many, not even students at this point, but like a lot of Indians now immigrating into Canada.
Right.
And he's like, I'm realizing why, because he works at the gym and he gets
Okay.
paid very well for the
Nice.
work he does at the gym. And what he says,
Which
when
gym? In AC? Or
Goldring. Well, both.
Goldring.
technically.
Okay, yeah, I might have come across him then.
There, okay. There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. But yeah, he's saying don't blame the Indians because the wages here in Canada compared to, well, there is, he says that where, at least where he's from, there's no minimum wage in
Yeah,
India.
yeah,
Like, it's
yeah.
not really a thing.
Not
right?
really a thing at all.
Okay.
I think the median income it's around the 1,000. Like this is absolute median for like a whole
Yeah, yeah.
1.4 billion people. It's around approximately I'd say 700 to 1.2 k USD. I think it's definitely in a lower range.
That's
so
per what?
I'd say like per capita. It's
Got it.
it's definitely
per
far
annual?
far better. No, monthly.
Monthly, okay, monthly.
Yeah.
That's what I was going, yeah.
So yeah, definitely it's far better in Canada.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see why people want to come here, support their family,
That's interesting.
make
yeah.
a living. So
Yeah, that's true. But I like also the cost of living is it's completely different, I guess, lifestyle as well. Like here, like the stuff is a lot more expensive, so maybe you don't have as much
Right.
disposable income. Whereas in India, like how has that culture shift been? Just like coming here and like, because I asked him the same questions. He listed a few things, but I want to know maybe for you a different perspective. Like when you showed up, was there stuff that you were just like, did not expect this?
right. So let me give you a bit of context. So I haven't been to India in 5 years.
Got it.
And the last time I lived in India, this was 2011, 2012. So 10,
Okay.
11 years ago. I think, yeah, I grew up very lucky, very privileged. So lived in like nicer communities in India, I'd say. But yeah, of course, there's definitely different like infrastructure, and which is much nicer when you come here. Of course, the cleanliness, like the smell of the air and all of
Right.
that.
Right.
So I mean, those are obviously very surface level things, to be honest. But I grew up in very like nice, like privileged parts, I have to say. So I think yeah, that's because that's what I remember of India, right? Since I haven't been there in a while.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Singapore, yeah, I have a lot to say. I feel like
Okay.
I think Singapore infrastructure, the services they provide, it's the absolute best in the world. I'd say women are as safe as men. So you've kind of created a bubble where like everything operates so smoothly, so perfect. The public transport there, God bless, especially when you come and see it
Really?
here. Yes.
That's awesome.
Singapore is like, yeah, public transport is great, but like I really have like two glaring issues.
Okay.
I think one is, I think it's so small that once you've been there for a while, there's often not enough to do. It gets a bit boring.
Got it.
And I think too, people in Singapore are far less like pro-social. They're a bit more anti-social, I think, when you compare it to in Canada. I find it like, if it's a spectrum, Canada's on one side of it, Singapore's on the other side. So let me
Wow.
give you an example. In public, like say public transport, there's some really nice like cab drivers here as well, Uber drivers. Like, you know, you get those guys who have those conversations with you.
Yeah.
Then I got the once an African guy playing Punjabi music when I entered the car, and like then one like driver telling me about his love for Bollywood, and then you have like great conversations that like, you know, these little things add up to your day. In Singapore, you know, I went in December, and then the first time, like, because I was so used to like the, you know, the Canadian way, if you want to call it that. I was like, you know, oh, good evening, uncle. How are you? To the driver. He didn't respond. I was like, Then I left the cab, and I was like, oh, thank you, uncle. Have a great day. And then he didn't respond again.
Yeah.
And then I think the next day, I actually ran into someone in a public bus in the school, and that person went to Australia. And Australian people, Canadian people, very similar, very social, generally very good to be around. She was telling me her experience of she got off a bus. She said thank you to the bus driver, and everyone in the bus apparently looked at her weird because like you don't see that in Singapore.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what's there to be so thankful for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely the massive like culture shock I see. I think it's a lot better to interact with people here. I find it much more enjoyable.
That's awesome. That's interesting. Yeah, there's a unique thing. I didn't even consider that. Like, I find it very antisocial. Just maybe not on a cultural level of Canadians, but like our generation, I feel, is becoming more antisocial.
Oh, so you're comparing like time-wise, like 2000s people are more social than our
Well,
generation.
yeah. Like originally, I was just asking about India versus Canada, but now like let's think about like university students.
Right.
It's even in Canada, like university students, I feel like are becoming more isolated, right?
100%. I
Yeah.
can definitely I think, man, like social media is like giving you that need of, or like virtually that idea that, oh, I'm social, I have all my like social life sorted.
Yeah, yeah.
It kind of makes you want to go out less. I think I experienced it myself. Some days I'm just lazy to go out, but I'm a lot more mindful of it, I feel like.
Got it. Yeah.
So,
This is
yeah.
something that I've thought about. I don't know if I talked about it on a recent episode. I don't think I have.
Right.
But so I want to ask you, when we look at these, let's call them sins. Are you religious?
I don't consider myself at all. I'm Hindu, but I don't really pray often. I just celebrate the Diwali when it comes around, the New Year. So I wouldn't consider myself one.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not religious either. I'm not religious yet. I'm spiritual. I'm trying to learn a bit more about that stuff. But let's just take the idea of sins. Let's just take the idea of immoral acts. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't need to think about it in a religious way. Just like things that are wrong to do.
Right.
And a thought I've had recently is what's worse, committing the immoral act or promoting the immoral act but not actually doing it? So here's an example. Is what's worse, the president of the United States killing a man, like like serial killer killing a guy with his bare hands, or the president of the United States going on stage and saying murdering people is actually quite good. I think we need more of that. But he didn't actually kill anyone himself. What do you think is worse? I'm getting to that point where I'm thinking, like, people naturally do these like commit sin, you know?
Yeah.
People naturally do bad things, and we're not perfect individuals. Like you're saying, you're still working on your stuff. I'm obviously working on my stuff. I'm not perfect. No one's an angel. But I think that when you try to like normalize these things into society, it's a lot more harmful than just keeping it private and doing things on your own.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, like, the easiest example would, in my head, be like, let's say premarital sex.
Okay.
I think that if you want to have premarital sex, it's not as bad as if you want to promote premarital sex. If you want to go and say everyone should start having sex before they get married.
Yeah.
I don't think that's as bad as doing it. Now, maybe I'm completely off base. This is like a new thing I've been trying to go through my head and see if this is like,
okay, so
if this makes sense.
That's a very like deep question. So the first thing I want to say, I think when you have relative positions of power and relative standing in society, there's responsibilities that one has to accept when one comes with it. One comes with that position. So the president of the United States promoting murder, for example, or promoting any sin, I think given that president's position, it's far worse, I think, than actually just murdering one person. And I think if you just put it on the scale of the layman or the common man or common woman, how much influence does that person have? I think it's very correlational to influence in the society and how your actions have a ripple effect, butterfly effect on society.
Right.
So I think both are bad, but like which one is worse? That depends on like your level of influence and standing on the society. That's what it is to me. But yeah, both are bad.
That makes sense actually. Yeah. That does make sense about if you kill someone, one person dies. If you say everyone should start killing each other, if you're a nobody and no one listens to you, probably nobody's gonna die. You know what I mean? But if you're the president, you might cause a riot.
Exactly.
So I guess it does have to do with influence. That's interesting. Definitely. That was just a complete side topic. I wanted to bring that up. I wanted to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
So we went off on a little bit of a tangent. But no, just getting the brain thinking. You're finished with school. Are you finished with university now officially?
Yep.
All the exams are done.
Yep.
There you go.
All exams done.
So I wanted to just pull you back into that deep, hard thinking mode. I know you're just trying to chill. I know you're just trying to relax.
Dog, I just did stats.
Yes. Are you double major?
Double major. Econ and stats. Yes.
I respect that. I'm in the econ major, stats minor.
Ooh, how's that going?
Psych minor. It's good. Stat 302 was terrible.
Ooh, tell me about it.
As my least favorite class.
Oh, God, yeah.
Who did you have as a professor?
Catherine.
That one girl, yeah.
Catherine,
the redhead? Yeah. I didn't think she was terrible, but most people I talk to say they don't really like her.
I don't either.
That's disappointing.
I'm not huge into the stats faculty here, and just to be very constructive. I mean, look, take it from a guy who's kind of average, below average grades and stats, to be very honest. I think my econ's kind of keeping me up.
Nice.
But what I feel is that a lot of the professors, they have a textbook, slap it onto the slides, read that, go home.
I don't want to believe that, but I think you're right.
Yes,
I don't want to
exactly.
believe that.
And one more thing is that, well, see, what I would like to see from a stats degree, I think having done it, why do we still study proofs?
Yeah.
Like, when am I gonna apply that? Ever?
Yeah.
Which job's gonna give a shit?
I think it's academia that cares.
Fair enough. Yeah, so that's actually the word I was looking for. So if you want academia courses, absolutely. There are people who want to go into academia. Leave your proofs for that. I totally respect that. But I think if you're going to design a degree that gets people into the workforce and equips them with the skills, what I would want, lots of courses on R. Okay, which we already have. Fair enough. Learned a lot of programming. Great. Maybe on other ones like Python, Stata. Stata is very popular.
Yeah.
Python has pandas for their databases and all that. So I think the direction probably needs to change. I know the research here is of high quality, and that's why it has a reputation, and we have to respect that. But I would like courses and teaching that kind of pushes in the other direction, actually equipping those skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, do you think that because that's what U of T is kind of known for, right? Is like research. They're trying to get more students into research, blah, blah, blah. Because that's like their golden egg.
Right.
Do you think that helps the undergrad students more than it hurts them? Because at the end of the day, U of T could be losing its focus on, maybe not losing its focus. I guess maybe we just need to ask the question of what's U of T's intention for its students.
Absolutely.
I thought it was to get them into the workforce, but I don't think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to get more research people.
Yeah, it looks like it
Yeah.
as well. But, okay, you have to look at it also. Like, that's what I have to remind myself, to look at it from the school's perspective as well. I think, man, if you have the name U of T, I think U of T knows they're going to get people regardless.
Right.
So they can structure it however they want to. But, yeah, I get what you're saying, and I fully agree that, it's definitely a lot more in the research direction than I would like. I would like it more on the equipping the skills.
Yeah.
We absolutely keep research there. I've had research courses. Some of my work experience is research, and it's pretty useful. So, yeah, I think it just needs a bit of a shift in, the path.
Would you ever consider becoming a professor?
No,
Why not?
really not, bro. I don't have that level of dedication towards any subject, to be very honest. Even right now when I look for work, it's like, given the market, whatever pays the bills.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear you.
I respect professors for that.
Yeah. It's an interest, I don't know what the personality profile is of someone who'd want to go into teaching.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing I have this I want to dislike academia because I feel like I'm being swindled into it by U of T, but it is important.
Absolutely.
You need these people because they're actually the ones who are pushing. They're at the front lines, pushing innovation in some of the most important fields. You know what I mean?
100%.
So even though a part of me wants to be a hater, and be because I feel like this is kind of where the school is trying to push students.
Right.
I'd rather not do that, but I have to respect the work.
Oh, absolutely.
It's very important stuff these guys are doing. And it's very hard.
Yeah, it is.
When I read some of these research papers, like these scientific breakdowns of studies they do, like I was in a moral psychology class. You would think something like morality would be a little bit more philosophical.
Yes.
But they took it was a psychology course. They took it to such a scientific method, hardcore, so intense, a crazy degree.
That's interesting. So what do they sample? What do they measure?
That's a good question. And I took 12 weeks, so I should probably be able to give you an answer. But there's different things. So the number one thing, and I meant to bring this up on another episode. I'm not trying to talk about other episodes right now.
Okay, fair enough.
But one of the main things I learned was theory. It's called moral foundations theory.
Moral foundations theory.
Moral foundations theory. It's by Jonathan Haidt. I think it's kind of unpopular now. I think that there's a new theory that kind of came in and kicked its ass.
Right.
And all the psychologists are in love with this new theory.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on. But I think that this is a great theory because it basically states that there's like kind of five foundations. Yeah, five foundations of morality.
Right.
Don't know that, let me pull it up. Let's get the content going. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't know what the foundations are. I should probably have that here if I'm gonna talk about it. The five foundations to basically judge whether an act is moral or immoral, right or wrong.
Right.
Harm, number one, harm. So does it inflict harm on someone or something? Fairness. Is it fair? Maybe it didn't harm them, but it wasn't necessarily the fairest thing to do.
Yeah.
Authority, I think, kind of, as you're talking about with the president, there's different levels of scrutiny that someone has to face depending on where they rank in terms of authority. Obviously, a child doing one act is way more acceptable, or a child doing a bad act is more acceptable than a 30-year-old doing a bad act. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I guess that's kind of authority. In group, so I guess certain acts are considered more or less moral if you're like friends with a person than if you're not friends with a person. Like if I know you, for example, if we're like tight, after this podcast, we get to know each other and we're boys, right?
Yes, sir.
And I come up to you and I'm like, yo, what's up? And I smack you in the back.
Yeah.
You might be like, oh, yo, how's it going? But if you're a stranger, I smack you in the back, you'd be like, what the f*** you doing?
Oh, I get that.
You know what I mean? So maybe like that's kind of the thing. And then the last one's purity.
Okay.
So purity is kind of like, I guess, related to more intimate areas of morality. So I posted a clip talking about UofT Sexual Education Center. And I was like, the stuff they're teaching
with
here.
the money attached to it?
Yes. What do you mean the money attached to it?
Like 50 cents for UTSU sexual education, like something like that.
Yes.
Was that the clip?
Yes, that was the clip.
Remind me what it was again.
So I was basically saying how it was an abomination and it was a disgrace because they're teaching like how to have anal sex and dirty talk and all these things as a club at UofT.
Okay.
And for me, I found this morally wrong because it violated my purity foundation.
Right.
I found it to be something that was impure. So this theory kind of aligns with that. When people ask, why do you think that's wrong? It's not harming anybody.
Okay.
For me, it's just impure. So I don't know, like, obviously I don't know if you have opinions on everything. I feel like some people just like to make shit up. So I'm not asking you to just like take a side or a stance. But what do you think about this whole thing, morality? I don't know if you think too deep about this, but obviously I'm trying to get it so you're not too relaxed. I need to keep you in the UofT mindset.
Yes, sir. So this is the model that's currently popular, is it? Or
This
was
is
the one that was debunked?
Is debunked.
Okay.
Or not necessarily debunked, but people don't like it as much anymore. It's like the old. It's old. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah. I feel like this has got a similar foundation to like all the 7 sins, kind of.
Got it.
Yeah. So I think it's a fair model. Like, if that's to answer your question, what were you looking for?
No. I'm more just like about this idea of liberating liberating sex. Okay, it's been a little bit intense at UofT.
I see.
I don't know if you saw the food truck that was selling these penis popsicles.
Oh, I've seen these around.
You saw that? Yeah. that was funny, but it's a little bit inappropriate too. But
I get that.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, do they have this stuff in Singapore? Would you ever see something like that?
Okay, so for context, my school was an Indian international school, so
okay.
that is kept under
under
the rug as much as possible. I think till 11 years old, I thought babies came from praying to God. So I asked my parents,
there you go.
And then like the whole time I was like imagining how the does this happen? Like, and I was trying to make sense of it. Then eventually the talk, friends, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think my context is far different. So I'm on the other side of the spectrum, like how I was raised, like Indian international is like spectrum. So we first learned about it 8th grade, 9th grade, and people are still like blushing, chuckling, hee hee, whatever, when they like see the stuff, see like the content of it. I think Singapore though is also still very like conservative like that. You will not like get away. But like, I mean, people engage in it. They just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You just can't like publicize it. I think to answer that question, however, what I feel in these situations, I think now there's so much like spectrum in terms of morality. What people see is right, what people see is as wrong, and there's so many different governing principles or religion, whether it's like religion or you just want to be more liberal. I think one thing I like is stoicism, but that's kind of kind of on a completely different arc. But what I feel is, look, if a set of principles brings something positive to the society, it's socially constructive in a way towards people, or it's getting like better. If it's making like a group of people better, and like they're both kind of heading in different directions, I think the best thing to do is just respect those people's boundaries and not force your agenda onto another person or another group. Don't force it and be like, oh, you're a bad person if you don't believe this, or you're evil. Because I can tell you from my like experience and in India, I think India needs a baseline level of like sex ed, I feel.
Yeah.
Definitely. There needs to be like more awareness on it. I think
How come?
I just I just feel that it's still like so taboo among like families, people like don't want to discuss it, I feel like. And like bro, we have 1.5 billion people and you still don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a bit odd, and I think like women's safety is still like much lower than it should be. I think a woman is still like very much on the streets feeling a bit like unsafe, having a bit of you know like much more awareness or heightened anxiety than she should. And yeah, I think, how do you say, it's like, I don't want to be too kind of attack the whole population, but I still feel like guys just like they just think with their dick too much, like without actually like. Fine, like you can think with your dick, but like don't act on it.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? You can having those feelings is normal.
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of baseline level of sex ed that people need to realize.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear you. That's fair. That's fair. I think that's a good point. I think that if you taught men, in this case, because I'm a man, I don't know what women think, but if you taught men that it's natural for them to have certain impulses, but now you just have to control them, that would be a little better. I think that society nowadays isn't even talking about the education system anymore, but like society overall is trying to convince men that they shouldn't have these impulses, or that they don't actually have them.
That's a bad path.
That's a bad idea, because then they're going to see the authority as liars, right? Because they're like, I feel this way and you're telling me I don't feel this way. Who are you?
Exactly.
So if you just say like, yes, these are normal tendencies, these are impulses that you have, but we're going to have to adjust because you cannot run a society behaving this way. It's ridiculous. So we're going to take a quick break for the camera.
Oh yeah, I heard the sound.
You heard it? We'll jump back into it in 5 minutes. It was my camera, so you're all good. We're back.
Yes.
Finally. We're talking about, what I thought was interesting, point that you brought up, was about how like with this sex ed stuff, like people obviously like kind of are intimate with each other, they do this type of stuff, but like you can't talk about it, like it's not out in the public, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's giving off the completely wrong impression in my opinion.
Fair. And this is circling back to kind of what I was bringing up about the committing the wrong act versus promoting the wrong act. So I feel like here we're promoting it so hard that like sex has become such a central topic. It's kind of become uncomfortable. So like I have nothing against people having sex. If you want to have sex. But I think when you start like walking in the streets and saying everyone should fuck each other all the time, it's like, whoa, let's just chill a little bit. You know what I mean? That's where I think it gets carried away. Right. So, but yeah, another thing that you said that I thought was, that I agree with, it made a lot of sense, was if you're talking about religion, and if you're like, if the religion brings positivity to the society, then like who am I to criticize it if that's a good way for it to work? You know what I mean? Who knows if it's right or wrong, but if it's being positive, if it's having good effects, then it's doing something right. Right. And I agree with that idea. And in the same moral psychology class, they taught us two schools of thought. and one of them was deontology, which is kind of how morality is rule-based,
Okay.
and it has nothing to do with the outcome. It's like, is the act in itself right or wrong? And then there's utilitarianism, where it's the complete opposite. It's all to do with the outcome. If the outcome is good, the act is good. And I'm trying to think, like, what am I more? I find myself very in the middle, because in some cases, utilitarianism, which is what you're saying, which is if it's good for the society, it's good. Like, if it has good outcomes, it's good. And then I'm sometimes deontology, where it's like, if the act is messed up, it's messed up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, like, it's tough. Like, with religion in this case, like, it's the problem with just being rule-based and not looking at the outcomes is that you're going to be standing there, your entire country is going to be on fire, your house is on fire, you're standing in your house, it's on fire, and you're like, no, I still think I did the right thing. Right. I still think I'm right. I don't know if that makes no sense.
I don't know.
So
yeah,
but that's just more about religion. You say that you're culturally, you have what is the religion? Sorry.
I'm Hindu, but I don't exactly follow the customs like so often, so I wouldn't consider myself one. Like, I literally eat beef as well.
Yeah.
But I do visit the temple before getting a job, or
Fair.
celebrate Diwali with family, New Year, and all that.
Awesome. So then, when you think of these types of things, when you think of like values and morality, like, where do you get that from? Do you still believe in morality and this type of thing, but not necessarily linked to religion?
Oh, I think religion's still, like, I absolutely like support it, because I think self-help and religion are kind of very intertwined, and self-help and values like go together. I think to me, what's a value? Something that is like well within your control and socially constructive, like altruism, for example, like altruism, empathy, etc. Like things that you can control and like bring benefits to the society. So I think, like I said, if it definitely brings benefits, like for example, if you see some of the mostly Islamic societies in the world, those are some of the best functioning ones.
Yeah.
In my opinion, with very solid family structures, with very solid family morals. That's why you see a lot of like Islamic families do want to move back and like raise children in a Muslim country, and be like, Allah created like our world and did this. I actually don't know much on that, so I'm not gonna comment. But I think, definitely. I think if religion altogether like gives you a set of morals that are socially constructive, then 100% that's where I fully support it. But in my case, I think just because I didn't grow up so religious, I think, look, values that our parents raise us on, I think people generally raise us on. If you do read self-help, I think a lot of things like intertwine, a lot of things overlap. There's a huge Venn diagram you can make, like where everything almost everything falls into the middle. So while I don't think, like in my case, I'm not very religious, you don't need religion to be moral or like, follow morals, be a good person, but religion is a great way to do so.
Yeah. I hear you. I completely hear you. Is there anyone that you have as like a role model, or like someone that you look up to, like when it comes to self-help? Like, have you found a mentor, whether it's like in person or like an author? Like, we're going to talk about this guy here, but I don't know if you see him as someone you look up to, or like a celebrity. Like, do you have anyone like that?
So I think firstly, in terms of, I think starting off my life, I think my parents raised me to like know what's right, what's wrong. But then when I started reading for myself, one thing I did was like I did read on a bit of like stoicism. I think because like mental toughness at the time was something I want to work on. Like, man, when I was in middle school, I was cranky, fucking tantrums everywhere and shit. Like, not a good time. So I had to learn to compose myself. But again, stoicism, great set of values. I think teaches you what's in your circle in control, what's out of your circle of control, and then you act within your circle of control. So that was one thing. Then my favorite author, Mark Manson. I think the way he packages like a lot of the things that he says. It's a lot of things that you see in every self-help book, but it's the packaging of it. I think the way he like goes about it. Then of course there's other like, a lot of the self-help influencer space has gone up. People call the red pill. Some of it's very toxic, I think, but some of it's good. Like there's a guy called Hamza I used to follow, really kind of helped me and taught me some concepts. And I think those are the few people that have like trying to like brought me in that direction. And basically, just being open to wisdom from like people who are in higher positions than I am,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that I can like pick from. I think that is when I know that okay, this is something I need to do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We're going to talk about reading. We're going to talk about some books.
Yeah.
Before we get too deep into that, though, let's also rewind the clocks a little bit more
Sure.
about a place where you do some reading with some books. High school.
Yes.
And you said you went to the same high school as Dick Shot?
No, we actually went to different high schools, but
Okay.
both are Indian international schools.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, fair. So you talk about self-help and you say like you've grown. You were a tantrum kid in high school or whatever.
Yeah, man.
Tell me about like how you progressed, because obviously I only know you as the guy you are now, but
Yeah.
there are people out there who knew you in high school and then they see you now and they're like, damn, this guy changed a lot. Maybe
Yeah.
like how would you describe that transformation?
Damn. All right. So, growing up, very reactive person, I'd say. I don't think I was a dick, but like I didn't know. I think I also didn't understand the idea of emotional control. So man, if something like pissed me off, I would like let it know. So like I would fist fight kids till I was in the 9th grade or so.
Got
Dude,
it.
it was bad. Like my reputation when
Yeah.
like I started like, for example, let me just explain. I was 11 years old, 12 years old when I became a diehard Eminem fan. Cause man, temper tantrums, very few friends. That was a safe space
Eminem,
for
yeah.
me. Yeah, but I think growing up, I think getting sent to the principal a few times, coordinator, then my parents obviously telling me, then me losing friends. Eventually, you're like, oh shit, something's got to change. I think once you have enough shit going on, you're like, okay, something has to change. And then you actually reflect on, I think, what constitutes success to me in that like kind of area is you kind of reflect, oh, why do you feel this way? Why do you think that maybe there's like underlying values that are out of your control that you're trying to, you're trying to achieve. So maybe, for example, maybe something I can think of, if I can infer to when I was a kid, I'll be like, oh, everyone's got to be nice to me. Everyone's got to be kind. When I go there, I want to be able to play. But then, there's obviously social dynamics. People don't want you in a certain group. And this is literally 5th grade, 6th grade, 4th grade we're talking about. So as a 5th grade, 6th grade person, and you with that set of beliefs, and then you kind of face that situation, I wasn't going to react like, in the stoic or the sensible way.
Right.
Yeah. So, oh man, yeah, it just took me back.
I hear you. Well, you're a changed man.
Yeah, appreciate
You're a
it.
changed man now. Tell me about this book, because I'm going to be reading a lot this summer. That's my plan. And perhaps I should read this one. I'm sure it's a recommendation from you, but tell me a bit about it.
So the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. And it's a great book. Literally, I read it every year. Like, every time I read it, I feel like I kind of gain something new. And I think what really hits like the right notes for me is its packaging. So if you look at a lot of self-help books, there's so many out there. It's a very saturated space in my opinion. And a lot of them say similar things. But what makes the good books kind of, pop? It's the packaging of it. So I think what people saw in the self-help space earlier, and these are not to say that a lot of these books are not useful. It's like, bro, get the money, get the car, get the hot wife, and then you're sorted. But does it necessarily make you happy? No. Is it guided by the right principles? So for example, someone can work hard, but they can just be a workaholic trying to escape their demons or their depression. Someone can obviously try to get a car, work hard, and that's not to say they didn't work hard, they did great. But what is the motive? I mean, look, if you want to buy a car, go buy a car. But if it's solely motivated by showing people or flexing 100%, you want the world to respect you, it's the wrong principles with which to buy a car. But I think what Mark Manson focuses on is stop giving a fuck about the values that are bad values. And what I say by bad values, kind of, if I take it back to what I said earlier, they're not in your control. They're not socially constructive, like, popularity, people trying to like you, or you can say maybe certain results going your way in certain cases. So he really focuses on values, with what are values that you need to have and what are values that you need to let go. And instead of projecting this idea of a perfect life, so, I think people still deal with this. I still have this problem. We imagine like a fantasy where like our whole life is like perfect, man. We got our family, we got our kids, we got our hot wife, and then the sky is all pink and whatever, and everything's like perfect.
Sounds awesome.
Sounds fucking brilliant, but it never exists.
Yeah.
Like, man, for all we know, Justin Bieber has problems. Every billionaire has problems.
Yeah.
Man, Beyonce has problems too.
Yeah.
Like, you'll never achieve that state of like mind. And Mark Manson projected this idea that, bro, life is always going to be struggle. There's always going to be different problems. And there's one line that kind of resonates with me. So happiness is... Oh, wait, how does it go? So, like, happiness is kind of achieved by actually wanting the struggle and going through the struggle. And more negativity comes from when you actually avoid the struggle. So, for example, going to the gym, you have to feel the pain to build muscle. But if you don't want to feel pain, you're just still, like, creating pain for yourself in a different form. So there's two sides to pain here. There's regret, or there's the pain of building the muscle. So what pain do you choose? Pain is eventually inevitable.
Yes.
So I got the quote. Now it just came in my head. The acceptance of a negative experience is a positive experience, and the avoidance of a negative experience is still more of a negative experience, even bigger.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a great way to put it. It's true. And yeah, the gym example is perfect. And that doesn't just apply to the gym. There's so many other things in life you can think of that fit into that framework. Do you want to go through the pain? Do you want to live through the pain of being very muscular and fit, or do you want to live through the pain of being a fat slob?
Yeah, absolutely.
Both of them are painful.
Right.
Choose this one.
Exactly.
This is the obvious pick. So I think that yeah, if people kind of they grasp that idea of pain is inevitable. Right. And this is another thing. I was having lunch with this guy 2-3 months ago in the dining hall. First time I ever met the guy. And okay. One of my other friends introduced me to him. Yeah. And he was basically saying how he doesn't want to have kids. If anything, he would adopt. But he says he doesn't want to bring life onto earth because he thinks life is pain. He thinks that life is like is net negative in terms of just the struggle and the pain that you experience throughout your entire life. I think that's very dark way to see the world. Extremely. Very dark.
That's depressing. Like, okay, yeah. The statement itself, life is pain, to me, very true.
Yes.
Life is pain, but like, what pain do you want?
There's good pain.
So I think he chose the other pain, victim mentality pain, accepting whatever's out of your control. That's what it like looks like to me.
Yeah, that's what it did sound that way. And it's like there's rewarding pain. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's how you get anything good is by going through the hard path to get there. Yeah. If it was easy to get, then you wouldn't actually want it. Right. You know what I mean? Like the scarcity is what gives things value. I'm kind of regurgitating some self-help now as well, but Absolutely. It's true. When something's scarce, this is why, well, not anymore. It's not like we're on the gold standard, but before on gold standard because gold is scarce. That's what gave the money value. So I think that especially like you're talking about the physique, like you go to the gym. Yeah. If you could... There's guys definitely who look up on YouTube 5-minute ab workout to give me a 6-pack.
Guilty.
Okay. Everyone must have done that at the start.
Oh, of course.
You get to a point where you realize it's like, I think if I actually want this result, I actually have to go through some hard shit.
Yeah. How to get abs in 7 days.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
to get abs.
Exactly. So, but at the end of the day, it's anything worth having is worth struggling for.
Right.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you need to struggle for whatever. I think that's what I really resonate with in the book. Instead of looking at going through a reward based, you're obviously looking at it from a more pain based a pain based like mindset, like what am I willing to struggle for? If you look at your life like that, like you can look at life as like, what do you want to gain, man? Everyone wants the car, the money, the hot wife, and like the traveling or whatever, but like, are you willing to struggle for it? Are you willing to whatever, study more for that job, maybe start a business if you want to? Are you willing maybe put yourself out there in social situations? That is what we need to keep asking ourselves. And like that's the great thing, because I feel like that book, it focuses so much on things that we don't want to hear that we need to hear. So things like, oh, we're not special, none of our problems are ever special, no matter how deep they seem. So I feel like I haven't even implemented 10% of the book. So which is why like I keep revisiting it every year and see how I can use it to kind of improve my life.
That's good. And another beautiful thing is that someone else always has it worse than you.
Absolutely.
And the crazy part about that is that every single person in the world can say that. Even if, like, okay, I was going to say a controversial example there, but I'm going to skip over that. I'm not trying to get completely wrecked, kicked out of UofT.
Fair enough.
But, like, you can look at a really poor country in Africa and say, very happy to be living in Canada. I'm very privileged. I have it better than the people living there. And the people living there would be like, so happy that we're in our country in Africa. So happy we're in Zimbabwe. Because all the families are intact. If we were in Canada and the US, 50% of them get divorced. So I'm really happy we're not there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So like we say, oh yeah, we have it better than them in our perspective. They have it better than us in their perspective, depending on how you look at it. So everyone can kind of say that, which is awesome.
I think people like, that's something we have to keep reminding ourselves, that we don't know, we actually don't know other people's struggle. And I think that's one like thing that social media has created. I think projecting that only that good side of life. And I think we need to realize that, man, everyone like has obviously there are things that they're dealing with, their anxiety. You know, the examples I gave earlier, your Justin Bieber's, your Beyonce's. Man, they're probably thinking about their relationship, or their label deal got fucked up, or I don't know, like any random problem which brings the same amount of discomfort that something brings you. So while we wish we were them, you actually don't want to wish you were them. Yeah.
100%. An interesting thing, once again, talks about this on another podcast, but that you brought up with social media, it's like you see it through like the rose-colored glasses of someone's life, and you see like only the good sides and all this type of thing. I heard an interesting, I guess, update and news of what's happening right now with social media, is that a lot of young girls, to kind of shatter that image of social media being like just like the highlights of someone's life, they're now peeling back the screen and also posting like the dark like videos of girls crying and like all the medication they're on. Like this is something I was listening to in a different podcast that I listened to, and the solution, basically what this woman was saying was like, we shouldn't, because they're trying to balance it out. They're trying to be like, I don't want social media just to be a place where everyone's life looks so perfect, so I'm going to post my life looking terrible.
Right.
And the woman said, let's just try to maybe stop posting so much altogether. Let's just like kind of step back from the posting.
Right.
And maybe keep a little bit more privacy with our lives.
Yeah.
And I say this right now, we have cameras in our face and we're going to post a bunch of clips, but this is a little bit different. I mean, just like people kind of showing really deep personal things into their lives can get a little bit dangerous.
Right.
But yeah. What are your plans now that you're graduating?
Network as much as possible. Look for work. Definitely, I see myself working in like the finance area for now. Nice. I'm still, honestly, whatever pays my bills, wherever the money is, given the current market. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna stay here, try to find a job, and then I think masters when I know what exactly I want to work on, if I ever want to do a master's. Yeah. So yeah, still very much like into trying to take that next step.
It's good.
Yeah.
Get that money. Get that hot wife.
Yes, sir. And the perfect life too.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna see him on Instagram.
Yeah.
But how's your GPA?
I'll be very honest. It's in the 2.8 range.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. You don't care though.
Okay, like GPA.
Like you seem pretty confident. You seem to be like, yeah, what the you talk shit 2.8. I don't care.
I mean, okay. I first of all, I haven't seen people openly admit that they have a lower than a 3.
Yeah.
And I think that pisses me off because I think that's either that's cap or like you're just like you're just like lying because there has to be an average.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. Look, I'm not gonna lie. A GPA is like anything else on your resume. A higher GPA is gonna be a boost.
Yeah.
I don't like to subscribe to the idea that, I'm 100% against GPA. But I think there's multiple other areas you can develop. Like I did an internship last summer.
Yeah.
That's really boosted my profile more. And I think that's going to be the strength that I bring when I like look for work.
Yeah.
That, these are the experiences that I have. I think, people stress far too much on that number. And I remember I was more stressed about my 6th grade results, 7th grade results, and my university results, and that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think given like when you grow up in that like Indian household,
Yeah.
that need for results, and then you realize, oh man, like eventually, like if you just take the right steps, your academics aren't the be all and end all.
Right.
And I think if I just openly go out say my GPA, I think people should know that there's like people above average, below average. I really don't know where I stand on the scale, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I mean, like that's my GPA. It's not that deep.
You let the success speak for yourself.
Absolutely.
You're going to be out there with your 2.8. Some dude's going to be with his 4.0, but he's not going to have the hot wife and the Instagram and the money.
Probably been studying his whole life.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Doing
That's
nothing.
also a tough thing. Some people get kind of trapped in school for years and years and years. And, like, obviously, if you're being a doctor, it's different. But I mean, like,
absolutely.
just-
STEM subjects, look, fully respect the education and the, like, typical, how do you say, the path of going up. Let's not, like, fully shit on the school system. Because, like, that's kind of a new school of thought that's come up. That, the school system sucks. It's still, like, outdated, like, 20th century. Like, yeah, sure, but most of the people who are arguing that point don't do shit with their life. They just sit at home and eat junk food or whatever. It's, like, you have to, like, you have to look at it both ways.
I hear you.
You can't just use it as a cope to, like, not study.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And I think that obviously it depends on what you're studying. There's certain jobs that are very, like, you need to go to school for. You want to be a doctor, you have to go to school. If you want to be a lawyer, you have to go to school. If you want to be an engineer, all these stuff, you have to go to school. I think, but other things, like with me, economics, you're also economics. I'm not trying to drag you into this, but with this sort of thing, it's like, I think the focus of university is becoming less about, we talked about it with the research thing, it's less about getting you into the workforce.
Yeah.
I still think it's valuable. I still think it's good to be educated, obviously.
100%, yeah.
And to learn all the stuff we're learning, it's great. But the 4 years we're spending, is it truly setting us up optimally for the workforce?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
In most cases, as an arguer, like I said yes to the sense that it's a valid question that you brought up.
Got it.
I fully know. I think some courses do it very well, like that actually teach us how to apply knowledge, how to use, say, like programs, for example, for stats. Very useful. We're going to need to work with that eventually if we're doing data analysis work. I think I enjoy a lot of, so I did a certificate in business fundamentals with my degree, which means like 2 of my credits out of the 20 are like Rotman courses with the MGT course.
I did the same
code.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, man. The best 3-4 professors I've had in my entire degree.
Dude, I love Rotman professors. They're great.
Yeah, and like I think I respect those guys because a lot of them have been there. If I'm not wrong, I think there was a marketing professor. His name's Richards.
Yeah.
Love Richards.
Dan Richards.
He had a company and sold it to Rogers, I think. Yeah, and then you can see like through his presentations the way he talks in the class. And we had Isabel Bader Theater as like one of our classrooms. Great for like presentations and all that. Like you can see that like passion for the business actually pour out and like demonstrate those videos and demonstrate those like, different ways of learning that make students actually be like, oh, this is actually really interesting.
Yeah.
There's Michael Kahn for Fundamentals of Management, I think.
The GOAT.
Okay, so
Michael
look,
GOAT.
he is controversial. I don't agree with a lot of his marking, and I don't agree with his early early 7:30 a.m. But I heavily respect him because he always brings people in, business to talk towards the last 30, 40 minutes of the class. I really respect that. I think that shows that, sure, there's people in business and you can learn from these people. This is not just a course that is going to make you, it's like a typical school course. While I do feel a lot of his information is mugging up, to be very honest, I respect that aspect.
What do you mean mugging up?
So, man, I gave this example to someone else. The guy can say any word. The guy can have anything on his presentation. If he breathes something, even that can be testable. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
It's very stressful to study from. And I would ask respectfully, because I do respect him. I'm not trying to trash him. Is this really the way that I would want my students tested? In the sense, are we coming out with better knowledge of management, how to apply these techniques, or have we just learned things? And that's one thing I would constructively ask, while I do respect him. But yeah, I think he does fall under that umbrella of good professors to me, just because he has that passion for the subject. But man, my GOAT is David Goldrick, I have to say. Financial markets, yeah. He's got that same passion Richards does, and he plays that music in class.
Yeah.
And once he played a Punjabi song, and I went off, man.
What a guy.
Yeah.
What was the other? There's the accounting professor.
I do like him.
Yeah.
I was just in accounting, so.
Yeah, that's right.
But I do like him, good prof.
I gotta tell you an awesome story about Michael Kahn. So I have a roommate who's in first year Robin.
Right.
And this was in I think this was in October of this school year. And he comes back, he sees me, we're in the elevator going together. He's like, yo man, Michael Kahn mentioned your podcast clip in class today. To the lecture, because I posted a clip about Michael Kahn. I was talking about, literally, I was talking, because I made a video of reading out these Rate My Prof ratings. I did that in the summer, a year ago. So and one of them was obviously Michael Kahn. So I then made a clip about Michael Kahn, and it did well. It kind of spread to UofT, it spread to Robin students, and he mentioned it on stage, to his lecture, to two different lectures.
Wow.
Because he came back, he's like, yeah, this guy talked about it again.
Yeah.
Class. I'm like, holy shit.
That's good promo for you.
It's huge promo. We got a bunch of new followers from it. So, anyways, I was like, this is awesome, and this is my chance. I'm gonna go talk to the guy because it's my favorite professor, right?
Yeah.
So if anything, if I could just shake the man's hand and get a chance of a connection, because he always preaches networking and shit. So I go to his lecture, and I walk up on stage. I'm like, Michael Kahn, or Professor Kahn, I'm not sure exactly what I said. I just want to say thank you. I'm not sure, you don't know me, but I was that guy who made a podcast clip talking about you, talking about how everything's testable. And I said, I just want to let you know we got some new following from it, and I just appreciate it, so I want to give you this book. I gave him a book as a gift.
Nice. Which book?
It's called The One Thing. It's I kind of felt bad after, because it was actually a very easy read. It's it's kind of basic. And he's like, I am a U of T business professor. You gave me this easy, light-ass content. So he might have just thrown it in the trash after, I don't know. But he's like, this is what he says to me. Obviously he came across it himself.
Yeah.
So you would think maybe a student showed it to him, but no, he was I don't know if he was scrolling TikTok in his underwear at night one day, but anyways, he was scrolling through. He's like, I started watching the clip, and I'm like, at first I was like, what's this idiot talking about? Because at first I dissed the Robin students.
Yeah.
I was like, Robin students, you're all low IQ, blah blah blah. So I kind of get that hook, get people mad off the bat.
Right.
But then he kept watching it. He realized that I actually liked him as a professor. And he's like, yeah, it's just awesome. If you want to come next year, so I guess this would be in 4 months, the start of the next semester. And you can kind of talk to the students. I can give you like a 5-minute spot just to be like how everything's testable, and you can say how you're.
Oh, that is incredible. Yeah, I like that.
You could be you could tell your experience in the course.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, man, that would be sick.
Well, take it with both hands. Like,
we'll see. We'll see. I'll over some Robin students in first year.
sir.
Watch out. But yeah, no, he's awesome. David Goldreich. Do you know what surprised me about David Goldreich
What?
and Dan Richards?
Right. Tell me.
How old they are.
Yeah.
And how much energy these
Bro,
guys
they're
have.
so full of life. It's inspirational almost.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. What like who's your favorite? You said Goldreich?
I think Goldrich's my god, followed by Dan Richards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the energy. Like what else? Because it is inspirational, just that high
energy. There are methods of teaching, like I think just bringing together like real life examples and having videos, and then using that to explain the concepts rather than the stats way of slap some shit onto the slide from the textbook, read it, and go home.
Yeah.
Like for someone who's experienced both sides of this coin, like that is what I really enjoy, like probably the most. Like these guys, and there's one more econ prof I like, super controversial, but man, I love Ghazali. I really do.
Yep.
I think I think people cope because like they don't score in econ, to be very honest. Like they just score shit and be like, F Ghazali. But no, I took behavioral economics with him, 331. Very interesting course content for me. A lot of reading, but very interesting.
That was sorry to cut you off. That was my exam today.
Oh, seriously? 331? How did that go?
It was good. It was good. It was a good course.
Yeah,
but yeah,
nice.
sorry, keep going.
But yeah, it's just got so much passion, so much happiness, boy. It's like rainbows are coming out of him.
Yeah.
Rainbows, sunshine, the sky is blue. And like, I really appreciate that. Like, I think I was in one of the academic clubs. It's called CUBS, UofT, Canadian Undergrads in Behavioral Science. So I was an exec there. So I helped host a few workshops. He was there explaining everything happily. I think I had to leave the room because I kind of felt sick as I was leaving the room. I was like, bye.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not like that? How do you not like that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really like Ghazali.
No, he's awesome.
Yeah.
I emailed him in the summer. I had an economics question.
Interesting.
And I emailed him. He replied to me.
Right.
First line he says, he's like, "Hi, Carter. It makes me so happy to hear people are talking economics in July." I'm like, of course that would make you happy, Ghazali. This guy, he loves his work.
Yeah, he really does. And when it pours onto the students, it really pours onto the enjoyment of the class.
Yeah.
I think that's what really like ultimately makes up like what's a good course to me and what's not a good course to take.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%, man. This has been a good episode. I'm happy we went a little bit over an hour.
Yeah, man.
And we're all good here. It's it's been a blast. Obviously, you said your final thoughts as what you say, life sucks.
Yeah,
or
life sucks. Deal with it.
Life's pain. Deal with it. Do you have anything else you'd like to share? I'll give you the floor if you want to shout out your Instagram, anything. Shout out your Tinder. I don't know what you want to do. Just go for it.
Tinder got too many bots. Hinge is the best.
Okay, Hinge.
Yeah, I think you'll find me on Hinge. Let me know if you saw me on like the podcast. Start a conversation. My Instagram will be tagged, I think. Just
Absolutely.
My name.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank you. Life sucks. Deal with it. And yeah, this was great. Thank you so much, Carter.
Respect. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Kanishk. Thank you for watching. That is the VoV podcast, Voices of Vic. Be here next Sunday. We'll be back with another banger. Great guest today. And we will see you next Sunday. Follow, subscribe. Everything's good. Peace out.